How's it going, and happy Friday. Welcome back to the SFS channel and another late week mock draft here with a viewer requested draft position. Remember, if you're watching today's video, you're automatically eligible to enter into the comment section below a particular draft spot you want to see me go from in next week's video. I'm actually thinking about doing a live subscriber mock here within the next couple weeks. So if you would like to be eligible to join that, head down, click that bell so you're notified whenever I go live for a video. It's going to be a live stream here on the channel. At least that's the plan for now. The worst case scenario is that it becomes a offline mock draft that I still end up doing with subscribers, but we'll see. Anyways, if you'd also like to have additional access to making sure you have the link to join that as soon as possible, there is a limited time offer to join the SFS Discord, which will eventually become a paid service here on the SFS channel. But while we're still setting that up, growing that community base on there, it is free for you to join. So go check that out and get in the SFS Discord where you will get access to all of those subscriber mock drafts. I'll be copy and pasting that link to join those in there right away when I plan on going live. So the 12th overall pick is where we're going from in today's video. Make sure to give us a like here on the channel. Subscribe if you're new around here. Let's hit the intro and get into today's mock draft. All right, we'll be going back to the balance in today's video with the 0.5 PPR draft settings. So obviously a balance between the standard and PPR league formats here. And as mentioned, I'll be selecting at the back end here on the bend with the 12th overall pick in this snake draft format. So let's get the draft kicked off and underway here. A lot of picks will be rolling off the board in between our selections, but it will be nice to get those two picks right there in a row. Remember, if you haven't checked out my top fantasy football draft strategies video, that has come out earlier on this week into something that you can take a look at to get a really good picture of how to address your boards here. So one of the strategies I laid out here, particularly for the back half of this strategy or the back half of the draft board, is you got to find that running back wide receiver balance, and you got to capitalize on the value here at the end of the draft boards. Because if you're not able to do so, it's a long time before your next pick, and you might be left high and dry, especially at the position of a running back spot where, you know, I might love the idea of a Travis Kelce at the spot on the board, but with a Cam Akers, it's really hard to let that value pass when the options that fall after that point become very, very limited, and I might like a DeAndre Hopkins, a Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown. All these receivers sound delightful, but the fact that the running back market is going to be drained very dry by the time it comes back to me is pretty good incentive to go a different direction and a different route here with this pick. So, you know, according to ADP, it's all receivers and tight ends, but that's something I don't think this team can afford, to go a running back 2 strategy or a RB0 strategy here at this spot. Because I think, like I've been saying, I've probably said it 4 times already, if I wait till the end of the 3rd round, I'm going to be left with slim pickings for running backs, and the value there just becomes terrible. So I got to at least invest in one here. Cam Akers will be my top pick. I'll think about it before I make my second selection, but I'm really liking an Austin Eckler here or an Antonio Gibson. Really good PPR guys, really involved in the passing game. And when I've got a player like a Cam Akers who I think has league-winning upside, I'll scroll over to the side there just a tad so you can see my whole screen now. I think it's too good to pass on here. That Rams offense is going to be chugging ahead at a steady clip, and Akers has RB1 overall upside, like I stated, just because of how explosive he is in open space and how elusive he is against defenders. So I would love to take a Hopkins, a Diggs, a Kelce here, and I might end up doing that, to be honest. I think I might go for the positional advantage with the Travis Kelce and then take running backs twice at the next spot if they're going to be okay. I am letting, like 14 picks, or geez, a lot more than that. That's terrible math right there. So what? We've got 11 here and 22 draft picks in between my next selection. So I got to make sure that there's enough value left on the table here. I'm probably looking at a Myles Gaskin, David Montgomery, Chris Carson type backfield there. That's the route I go. So I've got my super high upside running back 1. I'm going to take a chance here. The receiver position is so deep in rounds 5, 6, 7. I can address that need. So I'm going to take the positional advantage here and go with Travis Kelce. I know you want to find that balance here at the back end, and that's what you're looking for. But the fact that I was able to capitalize on the running back position is what I think is ultimately going to help me out, because I don't have to worry about finding an RB1 later on, I can look for some high upside RB2s, and it would be nice to be able to take an Austin Eckler and a Joe Mixon and an Antonio Gibson here. But I feel like I'm leaving too much on the table if I let the tight end 1 overall walk. And the fact that I'm not really going to have another opportunity in this draft to set myself apart from the rest of the league at a given position entices me to make this pick here. So Travis Kelce, I think, gives me the best return on investment at that pick. I think you can feel fairly comfortable walking into a league with your top 2 picks being Cam Akers and Travis Kelce because of the upside and the safe floor that a Kelce presents to you. The fact that, a George Kittle and a Darren Waller are such great players at the position, but there's quite a significant drop-off between, one of them and, a Kelce down to a Kittle even. It's fairly significant. So there we go. I was right on the money there. Chris Carson, David Montgomery, 2 backs I really wanted to fall to me. Both available for me to pick here. And these are 2 of the top 3 players available on the board. And maybe this makes me second guess, the fact that Darren Waller is available down here at the bottom of the 3rd round. That might be something, and then that might be reason for me to, in the future, maybe sway away from that Kelce pick. And maybe it wasn't the best pick to make, but I do think that it was very justified why I did so. I think here it doesn't really matter what order I take these players, and I'm going to go David Montgomery and Chris Carson. Snatch up 2 players who have really, really high upside RB2 floors, and their ceiling is they're right in the mix of middle of the pack RB1s. So these are players, they're workhorse running backs. Chris Carson has been that for Seattle for a long time. The main risk here, we've kind of found a happy medium with his ADP in the 4th round being, or a late 3rd round pick, between the risk and the reward, because obviously Chris Carson has some injury history and he's been banged up. Rashad Penny's back in the backfield this season off that ACL, whatever. I think the 4th round's a very fair spot to take him, especially a guy who is dynamic, who's used as a receiving threat, and who's shown us the ability to be a bruiser on the goal line, get in and score touchdowns. David Montgomery ended last season on a crazy hot pace, so a lot of upside, a lot of potential here. And then look at this. Still receivers I love on the board. OBJ coming off the ACL apparently looks really good in camp right now, or not in camp, according to Jarvis Landry. So maybe some bias there from one of his best buddies. But I love the idea of a T. Higgins. Cortland Sutton's coming off a major injury as well. Chase Claypool's got some nice upside there as a larger receiver who can be used as a red zone threat, but also to stretch the field. Dak Prescott coming off a major injury, but still has crazy high upside. I like that opportunity there. I'm looking really good right now with my top 3 running back group. I'm looking at these other backs thinking, if I had waited, I probably would have been in a pretty ugly situation. But the fact that I've already made my draft picks at the running back spot for the first few rounds here makes me have a really nice sense of security. And the fact that I've locked up the tight end 1 overall, barring injury, I like the way this team's coming together here. So you got to find that balance. Regardless of where that ends up being, who knows? Maybe there's a crazy hot wide receiver run, and you go back-to-back running backs at the end of the 1st and 2nd rounds because you know that you can get some good value there, and then you capitalize on receivers in the next rounds. It all depends how the board plays. You have to be able to pivot, find ways to adapt your strategy. Different things are going to happen every time you draft. So you can never guarantee exactly who's going to be on the board there. I'm actually surprised Cam Akers fell to me at the 112, and that's what prompted me to be able to take that Travis Kelce pick with the 2-1, and then now I'm able to find this receiver balance here later on in the board because there was value and opportunity opened up for me. So I love the idea of going T. Higgins here. He was a stud last season when he was on the field with Joe Burrow. Obviously, he's coming back from an ACL injury. It should be a big year for Higgins, and I think that we're going to see nice things out of Jamar Chase still, and I think that he's ultimately going to assert himself as the number 1 in this offense in time. But I think that for the foreseeable future, T. Higgins is a guy who, at least through the first 6 weeks of the season, 8 weeks of the season, you're looking at as a player who's going to be giving you really, really, really safe floor numbers. And the thing with these players is you can always take them and flip them for more. And there's going to be players that get off to hot starts. There's going to be players that get off to slow starts. You got to be able to figure out how to capitalize on that trade market and adjust the value there. So we'll have lots of videos for that during the regular season. Make sure to subscribe if you're new around here to the SFS channel, because trade videos is one of our favorite things to do during the regular season in fantasy football. So T. Higgins there, that wide receiver 1 spot. And honestly, it doesn't really matter. These 2 are interchangeable. If I end up going back-to-back receivers here, it's not going to really make a difference. But, looking at the receiver group right now, I kind of feel as if the receivers don't really drop off for another couple of rounds or so. Like, I would feel comfortable taking a lot of these receivers later, and I think that they're going to be available there. So I think maybe while I went and set myself above the competition at the tight end spot earlier, now might be a spot to take a Dak Prescott. And Aaron Rodgers still not coming to Packers camp right now. I think inevitably he'll be there, and we'll be taking Aaron Rodgers higher in our fantasy drafts this season. Russell Wilson, another really great player with some really awesome upside, but give me that pass-happy Cowboys offense. I think that's going to help me get a positional advantage there. CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, a lot of stuff that we can work with there. And even some, not much, but some rushing value from Dak Prescott. Maybe that goes away this year with that significant ankle injury, but he's reportedly put the injury past him. He's asked the media to stop talking about it, and he sounds like he's doing just fine. So I think that Dak Prescott's going to be back in for those monster numbers we saw to end last year. Here's the situation I love. Give me some Brandon Cooks right here as a player who has a absolutely terrible defense on his team, an overall garbage team all around. He's going to be the top target in this offense next year, and they don't really have much people to throw to there. There's a lot of injury-prone receivers, injury-prone wide receivers in Houston this year. Randall Cobb, Kiki QT struggle to stay on the field. Brandon Cooks does as well at times, if we're being honest here. Concussions has been his thing, honestly. But nonetheless, they're going to be trailing. They are not going to front run probably once this season. They might win a game late here and there, but they're not going to be winning more than... If you won 4 games in 2020 with Deshaun Watson and your whole roster got worse this offseason, I mean, you got rid of J.J. Watt and you talked about losing some other key players in this roster, you're coming back with Tyrod Taylor. You're winning less than 4 games. If that's all you can muster with with Deshaun Watson and J.J. Watt, that's going down even farther this year. So Texans will be throwing the ball a lot and high volume passing offense. So that's a steal for me there at the end of the 7th round. Deebo Samuel is a player I love. I don't want to have, the next 3 receivers here are the next 2 of the 3 best receivers on the board are Bengals, and we've already got one Cincinnati Bengal on our team here. I love me some Deebo Samuel. I think he's a really great player after the catch. His explosiveness is one of the best in the league. Jamar Chase, though, I don't think I love stacking 2 wideouts from the same team. It's something I'm definitely considering right now, though, because I just talked about, maybe T. Higgins, once Jamar Chase has that breakout game, as a player that you flip and look to get some other compensation for. So there's a lot of stuff I could do here. I think that if I were to pass on Jamar Chase right now, it would maybe be better for my team in the long run, because I would have different expectations and different ways that I would look and value my team. So I think I'm going to go Deebo here. Maybe Jamar Chase will be there at the comeback. He's gonna be long gone. That's okay. We don't necessarily, and I think it's kind of silly that Tyler Boyd goes ahead of a Jamar Chase, even in redraft leagues, just because of I expect Jamar to be an over 1,000-yard receiver this year. 6 to 8 touchdowns wouldn't be out of the question for me, in my personal opinion. I do like to see Kyle Pitts going a lot later in these drafts now. He was going way too high. I think now maybe it looks like he's being undervalued a little bit, but he was going in like the 4th round for a while, and he was going ahead of Mark Andrews and TJ Hawkinson for the longest time, which I thought was absurd. So the fact that his ADP has fallen so far in the last week or so is quite astounding to me. But nonetheless, it looks like the half PPR has balanced things out quite well here. It's time to look at that receiver board again. So Jamar Chase, where did he end up going? Or did he end up going? Yep, there he goes, 8-11. So, 10 picks after we took Deebo Samuel, but still, I think that for a top 3 receiver core, that's looking like a pretty good team. Laviska Shenault, a sleeper this year. Devontae Smith might be the rookie to grab at this spot on the draft board, considering the fact that he might walk into Philly day 1 and be that guy there. Let's look at the running back crop one more time. Trey Sermon might be a name to pull the plug on here, too, as an RB4 on this team, of a team that already has established players at 3 top running back positions. I can get a player who's getting some first-team reps at camp right now, who's honestly, in my opinion, a league winner if you can get him on the field in that backfield at some point this season. I might go back-to-back rookies here. I call it a bit of a reach, but I know these guys. These are my guys at this spot, and I've already went quarterback. I addressed that with Dak Prescott, so as much as I love Ryan Tannehill, and I've been making videos about him lately, we can let him pass here. So I'm going to call it a reach, but if you find your players and you know they're not going to be on the board for a fact the next time you pick, just take him. Trey Sermon, I'm going with him here. For the role he plays on my team in this situation, it's worth the pick. A league winner, like I said, super good in the open field, can jump over defenders, put his shoulder down. Kyle Shanahan's always got great running backs in the backfield. And then Devontae Smith, as we talk about my wide receiver 4 or 5 here. These are players I don't need to start right away. They can have time to develop on my bench, to reach their ceilings and whatnot, and to get the kinks out of their game. And when I need them, when I'm ready for them, they're going to have very, very valuable spots in my lineup, excuse me. And, T. Higgins, Brandon Cooks, Deebo Samuel, those are really nice receivers to have at the late spots. I picked them in the draft, and for some reason, this stupid draft cut me off at... I literally went into the settings and made it... It says 15 rounds up here, but there's only 12. So that's a bit frustrating once again. We're going to have today's video cut a little bit short, it appears. Unless it updates or does something for me to fix that. But, yeah, that's fun. So it looks like, what do we still need here with this pick? And then we'll address that in a second. So, Gronk, I don't need a tight end. Austin Hooper, don't need a tight end. I could get Rashad Penny to handcuff Chris Carson. That might actually be a valuable pickup for this team because Chris Carson is one of the more injury-prone backs in the league. And that's not something I like to say very lightly, and that's not something I often like to knock players for, but, availability is a skill, and especially in fantasy football, it's something that is very valuable to us as players, so something I'm going to go out here and pick here is Rashad Penny as a little bit of an insurance policy, and he's been no dependable person himself either on the field. He's had an ACL, and he's been out of the lineup a few times for other stuff the last couple seasons, so it's fine, though. At the end of the day, you're getting yourself a nice reserve, and Rashad Penny has shown us he can be productive when he gets opportunities in that offense, so I like that a lot there. Tevin Coleman, interesting as an RB1 on the Jets right now, might be worth a pick here. I still think people are sleeping on him a lot. We're talking about a 12th round pick right here for a guy who is labeled as the RB1 in that lineup at the moment. I don't think I can pass on him, so I'm going to try and fix that. I'm not sure why this has been an issue the last 2 mock drafts that we've done, but nonetheless, Tevin Coleman here, filling out that running back crop. Maybe we can make a trade midseason and acquire Michael Carter before he gets too much value, but there we go. The draft board updated. It's no longer an issue. This is good news, guys. This is good news. We're not going to be cut off early in today's video like we were last week, which was a bit of a disappointment. So 3 more picks opposed to having to cut this one off here. It's nice. It's nice of Sleeper Fantasy to be always dependable for us like that. I could use another receiver. I could use a backup quarterback. I could use a reserve tight end. When I look at the receivers on the board here, my redraft rankings might reflect that a Mecole Hardman, a Christian Kirk, a Paris Campbell, or an Allen Lazard might be more desirable than a Rashad Bateman from a big picture perspective. But just listening here in today's video, what you'll find is that based off of the way I've already constructed this team, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Cooks, T. Higgins, these aren't project players. These are guys we know are going to come in day one, and maybe they could see a reduced role by the end of the season, in particular for a guy like a T. Higgins who's got a Jamar Chase nipping at his heels for targets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the upside play here in Rashad Bateman, who, rather than being an early round pick or an early round producer, or an early round, what am I talking about here? An early in the season producer, a guy that might not give you production in the first month or 2 of the year. He's a guy I see panning out and hitting his ceiling at the end of the year. So the longer I think he has in this offense to produce and to gain traction, the better and the higher I think that he'll ultimately end up producing in the fantasy spectrum for you at the end of the season. So if our other players are starting to regress by the year's end, but he's just getting started and breaking out here, just like a Trey Sermon, maybe even a Devontae Smith, I think he'll start day one, but maybe he doesn't start getting that high volume role until week 6, 7, 8. These are players that I think we've set ourselves up with a good opportunity here where rookies tend to pan out over the back half of their rookie season. We could be in for some big fantasy stat lines out of those players in particular here based off of how we put this team together. With Dak Prescott, I probably need another quarterback. Check out the market here. I actually really like a lot of these guys. Kirk Cousins, I was going to go with the pick here. I might have to take a Trevor Lawrence, though, and play the upside card, even though I've already got a Dak Prescott on my team. Carson Wentz has a little bit of injuries and a little bit of lackadaisical throws to worry about. So we'll go Trevor Lawrence here. And then we'll pick our defense and end this thing off. I don't like picking defenses, but got to throw it in the video just to talk about it here and there. And let's see here they go. And we're going to get the last defense off the board, so not a great situation, but there was a QB run there in the middle of the 14th round, so we probably would have been left with, we would have had the opportunity, it looks like, for a Justin Fields, but that's still fine. Fine by me. Being able to capitalize on that upside with Lawrence that early is good stuff. The thing I can never get my head past is, why does the Washington football team fall every single time? I literally find myself drafting them almost every time here on the channel because, like, why in God's green earth is the Las Vegas Raiders defense, the Tennessee Titans defense, the New York Jets defense, the Seahawks, the Eagles? Those are just the indefensible ones. Like, even the Saints, they lost so many pieces. The Pats were having a down year last season. The Washington football team is my number 2 ranked fantasy defense for the 2021 season, above Tampa Bay and San Fran. That's fine. They went 1, 2, 3. But the rest of these teams, no excuse for why they're going early. So something's messed up. Y'all need to stop picking your favorite teams. Maybe the Washington football team doesn't have too big of a fan basis or something, but don't draft your favorite team in fantasy football for defense. It's how you're going to lose your leagues. It's going to come back and bite you in the butt. So that ends off today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure to go like, leave a comment, and let me know what you thought about today's draft. If you got, again, a suggestion for a future video and what draft position you'd like to see me come out of, as well as a league size if you want to see me change up some of the scoring formats here in the Sleeper Fantasy ADP or any of that other fun stuff, let me know. Once again, join that Discord. If you get in there, it's free right now. You're going to have access to joining those subscriber leagues and having access to those personalized, those interactive live experiences with me and Eric on the channel. So a lot of good stuff's going to be happening in there. We've got something coming together right now that I'm looking at doing as a really awesome interactive community event throughout the regular season of the NFL this year, and honestly primetime fantasy season, obviously. So lots of good stuff on the way here. Check out that draft guide collection as well if you're looking for some additional fantasy help in your leagues. We've got individual player profiles on the way for every single one of my top 250 players. So there's going to be a lot of good juicy details in there and a lot of stuff to break down for you, a lot of information for you to grasp a hold of. So thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Have a good weekend. I'll see you next time back on Monday with our next episode. Peace out.